So the goal is to understand all the individual contributing parts to your brand. It's logo, this is visuals, it's your copywriting, it's your service experience, it's how easily do people go through your website and book on your calendar. It's a million little things, but this is your bouquet of flowers. We think the size of the bouquet essentially is what's needed. And in reality, we need simplicity and just quality.
Hello, listeners, and welcome back to The Scaling Therapist. I'm your host, James Marland. This is the show where we give you tools, tips, and techniques and introduce you to experts to help your growth journey. Today, I am here with a returning guest, Joshua Brummel, co-founder of TherapyFlow. Hello, Joshua.
Hey, thanks for having me. Excited to be back. I think this is our fourth or our fifth conversation. It's always a pleasure to hop in here and chat for a little bit.
And I think I've seen you twice in person. We might have even had lunch together. You're just a great, you've always been generous and always been helpful. And I enjoy bringing you back onto the show to help the listeners. We were just doing a little bit of catching up. You have had a couple events and some virtual events and live events since we last met. Before we get into our topic of branding and branding your page, what have you been up to in the last year or two?
Yeah, most of my time right now is spent with TherapyFlow. It's a company that works with therapists and counselors, primarily group practices, really, and we help them scale with marketing services, coaching, and a HIPAA-compliant CRM with a bunch of AI functions, features, calling, a lot of stuff we could get into there. But we really just try and help therapy practices flow better, hence the name TherapyFlow. We just hosted our AI Practice Summit a couple of weeks ago. We had over 350 people attend virtually with us, and we just spent the whole day talking about AI use cases, functions. How do we think about it? How do we implement it? Where do we even start? Should we use it? All of those fun things.
Oh, wow, yeah.
And it's been great. Been a lot of fun. We do things like that next to all of the large marketing services and consulting work we do with our practices.
What were some of the questions or insights from that AI? We won't spend too much time on it, but I'm wondering what was the general sense or general questions of therapy practice owners and clinicians around AI?
Yeah, where do I start? How do I protect privacy? And is it worth the hype? Answering those.
Oh, very good questions. Yeah.
Is kind of what we spent the day talking about. And the long and the short of each one of those is personal productivity and administrative work for either delegation or volume, like output. Those are great places to get good AI function out of right now. Privacy-wise, you just have to be very careful with what you're choosing for AI note takers and listening and disclosures and some of those things. And there's some great leaders that are here at TherapyFlow that talk about that. We actually had a panel interview with some tool builders. I think John from Quill Therapy and some others that spoke to the privacy layer. So there's ways to use it effectively right now, even considering privacy. And then lastly, like where do you start? And I have a big answer and a small answer. Number one, start with what you can do. So start with one thing and use it and implement it. And two is especially look at your admin team if you are a practice owner or you're copywriting and your website stuff, which we'll talk about in a second, as ways to get great movement and either delegation or time saving from those sources right now.
Yeah, I kind of use AI right now with my podcast and creating content is I'll data dump. I'll say this is what I want to talk about and just ask me questions about it. What would a skeptic say? What would somebody who agrees with me say? What was it just fills in the gaps. And then when we have enough data, we create an outline and we move forward. And you can do that with almost any piece of content, a letter, blog post. I just use it as somebody that reframes my ideas.
Yeah.
And the questions that people had, like, where do I start? And like, how do I do the HIPAA compliant? Like those disclosures and things, like if you don't know how to do it, you don't know how to do it right, you're going to walk into a minefield. So I'm really glad you're providing that resource. We probably spend the rest of the time talking about AI, but this show is helping people create additional streams of income. One of the main problems people have is like, how do people find me? How do I position myself to signal people that I am reputable and that they can buy from me, and then to even get them on the web page and click yes, yes, I want to know more. Yes, I want to get involved. It's a major struggle, especially if you're it's not therapy, something that you have done your whole life, but and you train for 8 years, you know how to talk about it, you know how to explain it. But if you're doing something different, additional stream of income, a course, coaching, consulting type of program, like developing that brand and developing that instant yes can be very difficult. So, Joshua, you're an expert on branding and web pages and helping people see your value. What kind of insight do you have? Where do you want to get us started on promoting your brand and getting people to say yes?
Yeah. I want to make it really practical, and then we can zoom out to some frameworks. There's a concept that I use consistently, which is moving away from what you do. So don't describe in your web page, in your headlines, in your content, in your description, just what you do. You have to talk about what you deliver instead. And you also have to talk about what you deliver without what baggage comes attached to it, right? So for instance, when we think of modernization with AI, we'll just use that as an example because everyone's talking about it, is AI does something for us. It writes a message, X, Y, and Z. What it really does is AI delivers a faster paced work experience, or AI delivers work done without having to pay an employee. So I just did two things there. AI delivers faster work without having to pay an employee. So for, let's say someone has a course
Mhm.
on emotional wellness or on couples intimacy,
Yeah.
right? Is we deliver, I wouldn't quite use the language of deliver, but we equip couples to have an incredible thriving relationship without fighting all the time, without
Yeah.
sacrificing their evenings and their weekends, or without fill in the blank for some of those things.
And I think you that principle is key because as experts and people who love our material, we often talk about our solution. I give you a course, I'll give you 15 videos and 6 worksheets so you can have a better marriage. That's often talking about the bridge instead of the destination. People people don't always care about what your solution is. They care about what you're delivering, just what you said. And if you don't talk in their language, what happens if you don't talk in their language and you don't tell them what you're delivering without the baggage? What happens?
Yeah. They just don't know what it is that they're going to get. And so going a step further, we have to be really explicit and do this through the language of what they want. So to go further, let's say with that couple's intimacy piece of things, what do they want? They want a great Friday night that actually has like energy and vibrancy or whatever else to it, right? And we help you have an intimate Friday night where you walk away full of joy and partnership without blank, blank, and blank. So my
Without all the struggle,
recommendation when you're
without all the
crafting,
yeah.
yeah, when you're crafting these is sit down and really think about what do you deliver and what do your clients want, and don't use AI to write these initially. It needs to be from your knowledge and your voice. Write 20 to 30 of these statements. Kind of hard work, but physically sit down, type it out, write it out. Write 20 of 30 of these statements. And these are your core pillars for creating strong content and strong copy on your web pages and your social content that will actually make people be like, oh, I need that or I want that. Identify it, because you saying we do therapy or we offer a course to help couples with their intimacy, it doesn't resonate the same.
Yeah, they're not sure what they're getting. It's like the restaurant that offers food, you know,
Yeah,
I offer food. That you will get some people who will want food, but if somebody really wants Italian or they really want a hamburger, they may or may not go to your food restaurant or your your food service. So the more specific you are, the more you're signaling to people that you are in the right place. We can help you. you will get the outcome that you're looking for. Because people are not often searching, or initially anyways, they're not searching about what it is exactly. They're searching for their problem. What is the problem that I want solved?
Yeah. So to zoom out and give a little bit of a bigger framework to all of this, that's one way to do this. That's where we're talking about your process. Your process or your mechanism is the thing you sell, the thing you deliver, the thing that goes well for clients when they get it.
Mhm.
There's two other elements that are really important to show up very clearly in your sales collateral, on your web page, your funnel, your social content, your ads, and that is your people and your proof. By people, I just mean the real life stuff that makes this happen. This is if you are the provider, the teacher that's happening it, right? This is you. This is your credentials. This is your bio. This is you, your layer of things. This is the people's also other real life stuff. So this could be the physical, tangible course material, the images, the content, just like the physical thing. And for often course creators, for class holders, for therapists, you are the thing, which is why I use the word people, but it needs to be rooted in reality, rooted in reality. And then proof is how do I know I'm going to get the results? And proof can come from a myriad of ways and circumstances, testimonials, data, volume, certifications, experience. But when we really strongly blend together a description of our process, our product/people, and our proof, and that shines through in all of our sales content and our collateral, people can understand and convert and buy the thing that we're looking for them to purchase.
So I'm wondering, can you think of a time when you worked with a client where they had that aha moment where that all came together for them?
Yeah. Yeah. I actually, one of my very first clients, Ilona, she was cash pay therapist and she wanted to scale her rates and her community and her content. And so for each one of these frameworks, her her process was still individualized therapy and then her external content. But she got really specific. So she helped a certain type of woman with a very specific outcome. That's what she delivered without feeling like shame, without feeling hurt, without feeling the weight of pursuing support, because that was a big detractor of just like feeling weighted for having to go and get support in general for the things that they were struggling with. So
Mm.
she was really clear about her process and who she served in her process. On a proof level, she started to tell stories through video, primarily on social media, and put videos on her website and her web pages of just the experiences that her clients were having, the identified information and other layers. But she told stories about the women in her life and the freedom that they were having, the growth that they were having. She just got good at telling stories, and that was her version of proof. And then in terms of people, right, she was the one doing it. She was live, she was showing up, and she made this content consistently, daily, and it all blended together. And she built a vibrant practice very quickly when she realized she just needed to show up in these three layers.
Mm. So I was curious about short form video. Is short form video still a good way to get attention and to get known as consistently posting short form video? What's your advice on that?
Yeah. So I think for short form video, I follow the stages of like social media, and we have to develop social media and our content posting to be successful. For most platforms, you need to be posting anywhere from 3 to 5 times a day at a high enough quality if you expect to get new clients from the platform. And this would be a developed stage. Most business owners need to find themselves in a stage before that, which I call essentially the fundamental stage, or the awareness stage. Our goal with our social media profiles is to just not have it be a ghost town. So
Mm.
if someone goes to our social, can they scroll through a couple of videos, some images, whatever else, and it doesn't turn them off from our products or our services? And if we're not going to post semi-consistently, then we should just not have that social media channel. Otherwise, we should post at least semi-consistently in a way that doesn't detract from your brand and your process, or we should go the full other way and use it as a primary way to get new clients. The main issue for a lot of like therapists or course builders doing short form video, very time consuming
Yeah.
compared to their goals. They want to sell a couple courses a month or a couple high ticket coaching or a couple whatever. Paid ads, networking, other things sometimes are going to be better fits than the amount of time it takes to be successful. Because on social media, you're competing against everyone else. You're not just competing against other therapists or course builders.
Yeah, it reminds me of, Netflix. Netflix isn't just competing with other TV providers, they're competing with all other forms of entertainment, and so
Right.
when you're in the arena of social media, you're not just competing against other therapists, it's like everything else that's out there, you're competing against.
And that's
Um
why some of this brand stuff is really important because when you're comparing against someone else that's doing something similar, or not even comparing at all, but alternatives to health and wellness. So, especially the
Mm.
course builders out there and the retreat builders and the people building alternative sources of income, it's an alternative way to pursue healing and growth and the outcomes you're advertising. So if you aren't really good at drawing them in, sharing those stories, talking about your process and your people and your proof, you're not going to have enough meat on the bone, so to speak, for that person to want to say yes to it compared to traditional alternatives.
Mm. So, when somebody wants to start their brand, what do you have the proof, the people, and the process on the page. Is there anything else that they should be doing, or where else can that show up?
Yeah. So when we think about branding, an analogy that was taught to me is a little bit like a bouquet of flowers, right? Your bouquet of flowers is filled with all of these individual stems. One single flower is a little broken or it's not perfect, but it's in the sum of the whole and it looks great. You're gonna be like, oh, that's what it is, right? But if your flowers are like keeling over and dying and the whole thing as a whole is looking a little rough around the edges, that's gonna be the experience. So the goal is to understand all the individual contributing parts to your brand. It's logo, this is visuals, it's your copywriting, it's your service experience, it's how easily do people go through your website and book on your calendar. It's a million little things, but this is your bouquet of flowers. And my encouragement is if we can't deliver a great version of it into our bouquet, let's not do it all and keep things simple, right? A smaller, beautiful bouquet is better than a bigger,
Mm,
yeah, an
a
okay
more full
bouquet.
rot a more full dying
So,
bouquet.
and that
Like,
shows
your
up
wife would
for,
rather Valentine's Day is coming up when we're
yeah,
recording this. She'd much rather have a beautiful, small my wife anyways, small bouquet than if some I picked up the one that's just barely alive, half price, ready to die
yeah.
bouquet. Yeah.
And a
Yeah, that
lot of
makes a lot of
times
sense.
we think volume, right? We think the size of the bouquet essentially is what's
Mhm.
needed. And in reality, we need simplicity and just quality. So to give one other framework, I wrote my newsletter on this today, actually. Volume, consistency, and quality. Those are three levers when you're building your business, you're building. First, are we doing the volume needed? This looks, are we sending enough people to our landing page where we're selling? Are we getting enough video views? Are we doing enough work to get the volume of people seeing our stuff? Next, are we being consistent enough with it, right? Are we showing up consistently? Are we calling the leads back consistently? Are we
Mm.
consistently engaging in the work and the practice, the marketing that we need? And then quality is what we're offering in its quality format for some of those pieces. Different way to say it is volume is having a bouquet. Consistency is making sure that it's always fresh for whatever size that we've chosen. And then quality is slowly leveling up the types of flowers and the preferences and the other things that go into that for our services or for our products.
Yeah, I hadn't thought until you mentioned it, I hadn't really thought that if you have a social media platform that you haven't posted on for 6 months, it's actually a deterrent. If I go to a page and I'm looking somebody up and they haven't posted in a long time or it's something super old, I'm like, do they even care? Are they even in business? And unless I'm like, they were recommended to me or I'm super interested, I'm not going to follow up. I'm going to move to the next one. So having something that isn't maintained could actually detract, even if you're thinking, "Oh, I'm out there. I'm on Facebook or I'm on Instagram or Pinterest or whatever." But you're not keeping up with it. You could actually be hurting yourself. I hadn't really thought about it that way.
Yeah. For most of our platforms for TherapyFlow, I just try and sit in the fundamentals category, not having a ghost town. No detractions, no deterrents. We post pretty consistently in our YouTube, which is great. A little bit in Instagram and other places, but otherwise we don't have a Twitter because I don't want to maintain a Twitter. We don't have a Pinterest. We don't have some of these others, and they could be relevant, but not for TherapyFlow right now.
All right. Man, we could probably go in a lot of different directions, but I think what I want to do right now is direct people to where they can get more support. First, I want to say they should sign up for your newsletter. If you're not ready to market right yet, you will be at some point, and you will want Therapy Flow's newsletter. They have Josh and his team make great art, just very useful, practical advice that helps you think through things week after week. So definitely do that. So Josh, where can they find you and what are some of the things that they would find on your webpage?
Yeah. So if you go to mytherapyflow.com, you'll find our newsletter there, any and all of our services. The newsletter is a great free resource. I write that weekly. No AI. It's my top trending, most impactful thoughts for practice owners on marketing and on business development. And then we've got a couple other fun things. We, of course, have our marketing services. These are for group practice owners who are trying to scale specifically. So we don't support course builders, but we have a HIPAA compliant CRM. You can build courses inside of there. You can run automations. You can do email marketing. We have coaching available for that system and that program. And then we have some awesome live events in 2026 here up in May. We've got a large marketing conference with a bunch of incredible presenters that you can see through our website. In the fall, we've got a group practice con, which is for practices 7 figures or larger who want to be on site with us here in Chicago and learn how to continue to scale to their next 7 figures and beyond. So mytherapyflow.com, you'll find most of those pieces. And we'd love to at least have you in the newsletter to learn with us weekly.
Wonderful. And as I said at the top, Joshua and his team are always very generous, very helpful, very practical. This conversation is chock full of wisdom, but it's also very understandable and simple to understand. So if you're interested in marketing, if you're interested in scaling your practice, definitely check out Joshua and his team. That will all be in the show notes. Anything else you want to say before we end? Any final advice for people who are thinking about building a brand or reaching more people?
Yeah, I just want to return to that one exercise. Sit down, write out 20 to 30. We deliver statements without blank statements, right? What do you do for your clients? Make it really real, really contextual, and without what do they don't want? What do you do it without, right? Without having to attend therapy for years, right? That's some of the intensive promises. Without having to spend months inside of a therapy session. That's for EMDR intensives, right? There's lots of fun things, but do that work. It has always paid dividends when I'd slow down and do that refinement.
All right. Thank you so much for being on the show, Josh.
Thanks, James.
All right, listeners, you've heard it here. Do some of that hard work. It's going to pay off at the end. It's now time to put your mission in motion. We'll see you next time. If your practice is stuck behind a business bottleneck, you don't have to solve it alone. You can visit the scalingtherapistservices.com directory and connect with our trusted providers. The providers are Humor Speaks, RevKey, the Practice Collab, Arc Integrated, TheraSAS CRM, Guest Compliance and Consulting LLC, Freedom Business Solutions, Bosco LLC, and Profit Comes First. Pick one bottleneck, take the next step, and keep your mission in motion. We will see you next time.